My director. Okay, we call the village board meeting for March 28th, 2022, and it's 7:01, and we'll have the pledge by trustee Kasevich.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you can remain standing for a second. Tonight's invocation is Pastor Brian Williams from North Point Church.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's pray. Our Father, we thank you for this community and for this village, for those who serve it, for the residents. Thank you for the privilege of being a part of it, and we appreciate your blessings on it. Tonight we pray for our country, we pray for our world and those that are hurting and so much turmoil that's around us. We commit that to you and pray for your blessings. Lord, I pray for our officers and our firefighters that are out tonight. Keep them safe, and I pray that you keep your hand on them. And then bless this meeting. I pray for your guidance and for your direction, and we'll thank you for it in Jesus' name. Amen.
And Brian, if anything from North Point Church, if you'd like to share.
Sure, I appreciate the opportunity.
Yep.
We have done the last couple of years an Easter parade because of COVID. Thankfully, we don't have to do the COVID stuff this year, so things are a little more normal for us, just like they are for you. But regular gatherings, and this summer we'll do our Family Fun Day again, and we'll be getting that information out soon for all the details of that. We're also expanding. We're doing a second location in West Seneca now, just getting that started and doing some renovations on a building and making that happen. So we'll have a location here and one in West Seneca. So,
Do you have your family or neighborhood days, things?
We're working on a final date now. It'll be sometime in June, probably the second Saturday in June is what we're looking at. So
Soon-to-be Chief Gothier will be in charge.
yes, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, thank you
And
so
you're
much.
now a chaplain for the fire department.
That's true. That is true. Yep.
Excellent.
Keep putting on hats. Love
And
it.
lastly, I just need the Easter Bunny suit.
Brought it tonight. It's in
Okay.
the office, so you're all set. It's cleaned and pressed and ready to go. So the looks that I got from the dry cleaner, though, when I come carrying an Easter bunny costume is always interesting.
Thank you very much. All right, notification of the fire exits, trustee Hamernick.
The emergency exit is located to my left and to the rear of the room. In the event of an alarm or emergency, please move in an orderly fashion to the exit and evacuate the building.
A roll call, please.
Trustee Adolph?
Here.
Trustee Zamba?
Here.
Trustee Kasevich?
here.
Deputy Mayor Hamernick?
Here.
Mayor Peterson?
Here. So first up tonight, approve the village board meeting minutes from March 14th, 2022.
Honorable Mayor and Board of Trustees, I make a motion that we approve the village board meeting minutes of March 14th, 2022.
I second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next up, accept the zoning board meeting minutes from March 10th, 2022.
Honorable Mayor and Board of Trustees, I make the following motion and move for its adoption. I'd like to accept the zoning board minutes of March 10th, 2022. Number 1, Deborah Morano for property located at 31 Domino Court of Chapter 260, 260-23, parentheses A, parentheses 2, for relief of the minimum lot area requirement of 6,600 square feet, requesting 5,800 square feet. Approved. Number 2, David Cox of Passero Associates on behalf of Royal Wash Development LLC for property located at 4801 Broadway for 2 variances of Chapter 260, 260-26, parentheses A, parentheses 2, for relief of the required side yard setback of 10 feet in a non-residential district, requesting 5.9 feet, and of Chapter 260, 260-37, parentheses E, wall sign, parentheses 4, for relief from the maximum wall sign coverage on a single parcel of 100 square feet, requesting an increase to 142 square feet. Tabled.
I second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And it's carried. So tonight, we have 2 public hearings. You'll be able to, the public is able to respond and ask questions on any of the agenda items only. I ask that if you have questions that revolve around the two public hearings, wait until they get opened and available for comment. So the first thing on the agenda tonight is public hearing for the tax cap override. Currently, the tentative budget was produced at 12.2% tax increase. The tax cap ceiling is 2% this year, as designated by the state. So each of the trustees have pencils with a sharpener ready to work on that. Over the next couple of weeks, we hope to adopt a budget at the second meeting in April, which will be April 25th. The second public hearing tonight is on, let me make sure I get this right. Non-domesticated, non-domestic animal law. Chickens, bees, horses, goats, pheasants, any other fowl that might be out there. We have worked, the board, members of the board, I know Trustee Kasevich has served on that, Attorney Alba, our previous code enforcement officer, Tony Vachon, and maybe to a smaller extent, the new people that we have. In reviewing our law regarding this type of a situation, we were going to have a public hearing in January. However, if you recall, we went back to remote meetings due to COVID again, due to the Omicron variant. So it was very important to me that we allow the public the opportunity to come and speak. We put a few extra chairs out today, and they're not being used, so we'll see if anybody has something online perhaps. But I do, Scott, right? Scott, I appreciate you being here tonight. So we'll take any comments that come about from tonight and on what's been drafted, and we hope to get this done sometime in the near future. Permission to advertise for the tentative budget. Permission to amend the budget. And that is, we've been recommended that we show the money that came to the village from the American Rescue Plan funds last year, which is roughly $770,000. So that's now being reflected in the budget after tonight. We have a resolution tonight, permission to sign the UNS Services Agreement. This company has worked with the village for quite some time, covered the equipment and service calls for the CPU units, peripheral equipment, field panels, and software associated with the village's heating and air conditioning system. Sorry, it's at $6,400 a year. Is that an increase, Jerry? Do you know?
No, not that I don't
It's been very
believe so.
flat.
Right.
Yeah.
If so, it's very minimal.
Authorize a bid award for the senior center HVAC system in the amount of $83,984. I know that's a little higher than what the county awarded the village, because I thought we were at 77.7.
Yeah, there's the
Are they
small.
gonna make it up?
Well, he's checking. Kyle's checking with HUD, but if any case, that might be what would be considered our match in any other grant scenario. But he's checking with HUD now.
So throughout the last 2 years with COVID, so everyone understands, there was a lot of money being floated about by the federal government. And it was key that you try and take advantage of as much as you can. In that particular year, I know that we tried Audrey for the Don Polsky building. That didn't happen that particular year. However, there were two other grants that were put in for community development block grant money. One was the all-inclusive playground park on West Dawson, which we received about $165,000. And Ken, your guys are doing a tremendous job getting that together. The other thing was made available to those villages and towns that had senior centers. There are 16 of us that do on this side in the consortium. And we were issued the most amount of money to actually improve the replaced the faucets and such in the bathrooms down there with touchless. And they also agreed that our heating and air conditioning units needed to be replaced.
And
So-
upgraded.
Upgraded,
Yeah.
replaced with the new air filtration
Right.
filters and what have you. And all 4 of those units are part of this bid, which is going to be nice to see. Just to show you how long this takes, that's what, about a year and 3/4. Takes a long time. Next up is to approve a leave of absence. So there's 2 of them on here today. They both involve our code enforcement officers. They both came from other jobs and jobs that they had already made plans for vacations and so forth. They haven't been here long enough to have accumulated any vacation time, so they're asking to keep their vacations done from April 11th through the 15th, and it'll be unpaid. And the second one is with Craig, who came from us from Lancaster. He'll be on unpaid leave for the week of April 18th through April 25th. The next part on the agenda is authorizing a request calling for an increase in AIM funding. AIM funding is money that's come to villages and towns over the years. Typically, it used to be distributed in September. However, if you were on a smaller scale like our village is, we were then coded the last year as an AIM-related payment. And instead of getting it in September, which would be earlier in our budget year, it's now on the back end of our budget year. So we don't get the money until middle of May. And over the years, previous governor used to like to hold that payment out there as a dangling it, if you would, whether or not we would get it and whether we wouldn't get it. The previous year, it was tied to internet sales tax. So as the monies were accumulated by the state charging taxes on internet sales, that's how they paid for the AIM-related and AIM funding. With the new governor in, she's made the change that it's no longer tied to the internet sales tax, and in fact, it's a part of the regular payments coming out of the budget. However, that number hasn't changed in 13 years. We get about $213,000 a year, and that goes directly to our budget to offset any costs that we may have. So there's a request in here to increase that number. And this is just a joint request of all mayors and supervisors in the state. So we hopefully be signing that. Next up is to adopt, hopefully, the tax cap override for 2022. That's adopting local law number 2. Then there's a permission for a police conference where Chief Jerry Miller and Police Captain Bill Kerr will be attending International Association of Chiefs of Police 2022 annual conference, October 15th to the 18th in Dallas. Wow, very nice.
Nice one.
Permission for membership to Depew Fire Department. Looks like we're picking up a member for Depew Hose Company number 1, Thomas McLean. So, other than the 2 public hearings, which were at the top of our agenda tonight, is there any questions or comments on any of the other items that I just read off? Any questions or comments? Okay, we'll start with number 1, public hearing, tax cap override.
Honorable Mayor and Board of Trustees, I make the following motion to open the public hearing tax cap override at 7:17 PM.
I second the motion.
Okay.
Okay. Please take notice that the Village of Depew Board of Trustees passed a resolution at their March 14, 2022 Village Board meeting to conduct a public hearing in the council chambers of the Depew Municipal Building, 85 Manitou Street, Depew, New York, on Monday, March 28, 2022, at 7 p.m. The purpose of the hearing is to consider Local Law 2 of 2022 authorizing a property tax levy in excess of the limit established in General Municipal Law, Section 3-C.
Anybody have any comments or questions on overriding the tax cap for this year? It's our intention to have an adopted budget meeting or on the agenda on April 25th. Regina, is anybody online on YouTube there?
Nobody is commenting on this.
Okay. Any other questions? Any questions at all? Okay, seeing that there's none. Audrey?
Honorable Mayor and Board of Trustees, I make the following motion to close the public hearing of the tax cap override at 7:19 PM.
Jackie?
Oh, sorry. I second the motion.
All those in favor?
All right, let's get to the next one.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Our second public hearing tonight is on the non-domestic animal law.
Honorable Mayor and Board of Trustees, I make a motion that we open the public hearing on Local Law Number 1-2022, the non-domestic animal law. This hearing is opened at 7:20.
I second the motion.
All those in favor of opening it?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried.
A public hearing will be held on Monday, March 28th March 28th, 2022, at 7 p.m. in the Depew Village Hall Council Chambers. The purpose of the hearing is to discuss the Local Law Number 1-2022, the non-domestic animal law. The meeting room is wheelchair accessible.
So we're going to have our attorney, Sam Alba, open it up as to some of the things that are highlighted in the law.
Okay, thanks everyone. This was a committee effort. I'm the one who drafted the law and it went through multiple revisions. What we found is that Section 68.1 of the Village of Depew law contained really some archaic draconian restrictions on non-domesticated animals, but also kind of a law that could be interpreted in a freewheeling way on domesticated animals. So we look to militate those two things against one another. We studied some of the trends happening in different communities. People want to be able to raise their own chickens, have their own eggs, other things like that. At the same time, neighbors want to be heard in certain areas and make sure they can protect themselves from having a full-fledged farm in a residential area. So what we did was create a law that allows certain non-domesticated animals, requires residents to get a special use permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals, and really just kind of trying to create an infrastructure so if there's a big conflict, the Zoning Board of Appeals can weigh that. You know, if someone wants to come in and open a rattlesnake farm, hopefully they vote no, but you know, if someone wants to, I hate snakes. If someone wants to come in and have a couple chickens, something like that. I know we have a small horse in the Village of Depew, which is actually protected under the ADA, which would be a factor the zoning board can consider. All those cases can be made. So that's the whole idea, is to modernize the law. We look to what other municipalities did, and hopefully it passes and everyone's okay with it. That's basically what we've done.
So if somebody comes to want to raise goats, as an example, what's the process?
So they would fill out a application for the zoning board of appeals. They would have to provide notice to their adjacent neighbors on either side, letting them know that they want to raise goats. They would have to create a plan for how they'd keep the goats. They'd have to comply with the rules for, regularly maintaining the waste and other things like that. And then they'd present to the zoning board of appeals. They'd get a hearing date, and it's up to that board to grant the special use permit or not. So in the hypothetical of a goat, I don't know much about goats, but
So if my neighbor, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. If my neighbor wanted to raise goats, this would come up in a public hearing notice that would be put in the village's authorized newspaper, which is the Bee, right? And then it would be my responsibility to be aware of that request and show up at the meeting then?
no, we have
No?
a heightened requirement on that. I'm just looking for the exact language.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
I want to be on the spot. We're good. So in section 10 of the law, we require that the applicant provide proof with their presentation to the zoning board that all property owners within
that's right.
100 feet of the property, which is 100 feet, the hope is that your adjacent neighbors,
It's left, back,
Right,
You know,
exactly.
everybody.
That they know. They don't need to come here and give their opinion, but that they're aware of it. And they can. Maybe someone says, I'm allergic to goats. I have a goat phobia. You can't do this to me. I'm sure it's a thing. So
okay.
so it's not simply posting it in the Bee, it's actual notice to the neighbors. I think there's a burden of proof on the applicant. You can't just come in and say, oh yeah, I told my neighbors, perhaps.
Do they have to sign something?
Fill out a small affidavit of service or, provide an acknowledgement from the neighbors. There's no actual requirement in the law on how the notice is made. So you could come here and say you told the neighbors, and that's, the zoning board may say, well, come back with proof. It's up to them. That's the way it's written.
Okay. All right, so we'll open it up to public. I know I have Scott Kapperman. Yep, come on up. Just give us your
Put me on the spot here.
full name and address, if you would.
Sure. Scott Kapperman, 137 Lee Street. Your podium's kind of short. I want to thank you all for taking the time. I know this has been going on for over a year now that we've been going back and forth with this, and I know it takes time. I guess I opened up the proverbial can of worms on this when my grandpa actually lived in Depew on Park Avenue, and I know they had chickens, and my mom grew up with chickens, and my wife is obsessed with these little silky chickens, and I didn't know what they were, but I looked them up, and so I had went through the process, and I guess I'm kind of like the guinea pig for this, because I went to all the neighbors, and I had them all sign that they're okay with it, so...
That was sort of a direction I thought we would go in.
Right.
You did take it through that.
I did, yeah, I have everything, so,
Good.
which is good, but, I think it's really important. I never thought, from a village standpoint, I was just thinking of a couple little fluffy chickens, but the reality is there are horses and, who knows, rattlesnakes and
Bees.
goats and bees and everything else, so it's a much bigger, task for you. So I want to thank you all for taking the time to look at this and to hopefully make it a possibility for everyone. As I was driving here, I was thinking, whether it's a chicken or a cat or a dog or whatever it is, it's unfortunate, but it's not really the animal, but it's the person. I mean, there's a lot of people that have a dog with no issue, and then there's other people that have dogs, and they're out every other day, and, you have to be responsible neighbors. So, my kids are hoping that this becomes a reality. We've been just sitting and waiting, and they're always asking, but I tell them you got to be patient, and I'm sure it'll come to fruition at some point in the near future. But I wanted to thank you all personally for taking the time to look into this and to study it and to support the residents of the village. So thank you.
I was just hoping they didn't graduate and move on to college before we got there.
Yeah, right. You know what? I was also thinking I should have brought chicken wings for everybody. How ironic would that be?
Did you have any, I don't know, did we send Can we send off any part of this that he could read that?
I did. Oh, yes, actually, I read, it must have been online. I don't know. My wife found the draft of the law somewhere. Maybe it was in your, I don't know. But I read through it, and it seems extremely fair and very well done, so thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Paul, you promised me some questions.
I'll wait my turn.
Well, I think you're next.
Paul Sprata, 58 Argus Drive, Depew. On the chicken deal here, when I was a kid, I had chickens also. I grew up in Cheektowaga, and my dad built an oversized two-car garage out of concrete block, him and his brothers. And in the corner, he even left a couple blocks empty, and he took a door from, I'm sure most of you remember milk boxes, but that was the size of the door so the chickens could go outside.
Okay.
And he made a caged-in area outside. There were bantam chickens, you know, the little ones. I had 3 hens and a rooster. Now, with this new law in our village, isn't there a stipulation about no roosters, just chickens?
So it's not specifically in there, no roosters, I think. There's a provision that has to do with roosters. Let me find it, because this came up at the last meeting. I told you, Paul asks the tough questions every time, week in and week out.
I'm sorry. In addition, while you're looking that up, in addition to chickens, a couple of my dad's brothers, what used to be popular back when I was a kid, back in the dark ages, were pigeons, homing pigeons. And 2 of my father's brothers who lived in South Buffalo, they used to race pigeons. And of course, the ones, it's like horse racing. The ones that don't make the grade, well, they become the squabs. And
Squabs?
Squabs, which would mean eating
Oh.
pigeons. So my dad would get those, and we had a little area in where he built this chicken coop out of old storm windows in the garage, and we'd keep them in there, and then my father would butcher them, and my mother would fix them.
Where did your uncle live?
They both lived in South Buffalo.
Okay. I thought you were going to tell me some story about a precursor to email that you would like send a message on one pigeon to your uncle or something like that.
It might be faster than email today,
Okay.
or more accurate anyway.
You have any issues with somebody having chickens?
I don't. I'm just wondering about the rooster part, because
So it's section 9, and we don't explicitly prohibit roosters, but I think the understanding is, given what we know about roosters and their behavior, the zoning board of appeals would be unlikely to grant an application including a rooster. And what 9 says, in no instance will roosters, geese, or other fowl, or any swine, horses, cows, mules, goats, bees, or any other animal or reptiles except domesticated pets be permitted within the village without a permit, subject to the recommendation of a special use permit from the Village of Depew Zoning Board of Appeals and final approval from the Village of Depew Board of Trustees. So,
I think the way it was written, in my interpretation of it, there's a couple of areas in the village that are more as susceptible to maybe having chickens and doing it. Zerbic Road, I'm thinking Ream Road,
yeah.
all the way down Ream Road. I mean, there's a couple of our residents that go to about 90 on Ream Road before the golf course and before the Parwood Village there.
Uh-huh.
Maybe they could make a case for a rooster, but
Yeah.
ultimately it'd be the zoning board of appeals to make that call based upon the application.
Yeah, because roosters are, I mean, they're loud in the morning.
Oh, they're loud all day long.
To me, it's a pleasant sound, but to some neighbors, it might
Yeah.
not be pleasant.
Not at 6 in the morning.
so
And another thing is the waste from chickens.
don't you sit on one of these boards?
Yes.
So
Yep.
perhaps you could educate or enlighten the other board members as to roosters. Such an application comes
If
up.
that happens, yeah.
Okay. And would there be a number of chickens that a resident can have, or does
I
it
believe
depend on how
six.
much property they have?
Six, I believe.
Six chickens.
6?
6 total chickens.
Okay. Because their waste can be a problem also.
There's a requirement that they clean once a day,
Okay.
and if not, code, because they're not too busy, they can go out and enforce this law.
One thing, my wife and I are in a bicycle club too, and our Friday morning ride used to be Clarence to Akron. It was a breakfast ride. And we'd take the Clarence Bike Path, which is north of Main Street, the old railroad line. And we'd pass by Crayer's Farm, where,
Yeah.
Yep,
chicken farm.
Yep.
Well, they have a separate building, it's probably 50 by 100, that is, they process chicken waste. And when you drive by there on a bicycle, depending on the wind, you better breathe through your mouth, because the stench is horrendous, even with modern day technology. I'm just mentioning that because they have an awful lot of chickens there.
And that's a good thing about this law, we think, is if the neighbors said, yeah, we supported this, but now it smells, code, can you please go out there? They've got enforcement mechanisms built into this, where they can cite the person, they could lose their special use permit. If they lose their special use permit, they can't get another one for 5 years. So,
Okay, that's good.
the idea is enforcement, opportunity to remedy, and if it's just someone who can't manage them, we've got the means to, not seize the animals. I think that would be another department, but take away permission to have the animals.
Okay. One other thing, permits, would there be a different price structure depending on the animal?
No, it's all the same.
All the same, and for how long would they be issued? The
2
permits?
years.
2 years?
2 years.
Okay, and if there's an infraction before the 2 years, you can rescind the permit?
Well, there's an opportunity to remedy, due process is accounted for in it, but yes, can be rescinded, and then they'd be ineligible for a period of 5 years.
Okay, I think that's all
I know I shared with the board members that 2 summers ago, I decided to, COVID project was to clean up the 2 ponds I have around my deck. Cleaned it up, put some plants in. My lilies are growing really nice that year. Sit down on my chair at the deck, and it was just swarming with bees. Neighbor across the fence had set up beehives.
Hives.
Yeah, and they would come over the fences, land on my lily pads,
Lilies.
suck up their water they needed, take that back, which is part of the honey process,
Yeah,
all summer long. I put very fine netting on it,
greening, yeah.
and I watched them as they would land on it. They would flip and then land on the thing. They took only 30 minutes to figure that out.
Yeah.
And so, I don't think he had them last year because they weren't around as much. So,
All right, well, thank you, that's all I got.
Thank you.
anybody else with any comments or questions?
I'd like to make a few comments if I could, Mayor.
Sure.
Darren Ziamba, 68 Lewin Drive, Depew. I have some concerns with this law, and my opinion is the village of Depew is not a farming community. And I don't like that you're going to have neighbors deciding what other neighbors are going to have. I ran for this position. I'm ready to accept responsibility if I tell somebody no, but I think that we may be setting some neighbors up for some disputes or some hard feelings if someone decides to say no to another neighbor. I also feel that this is going to put a burden on our code enforcement department, who's already under duress, and I do believe that I'm listening to the residents and supporting the residents when I say I've got serious concerns about this law. Thank you.
Okay.
So just to briefly respond, the law as it reads right now has a mechanism for the village board to essentially grant anyone free rein on any animal they might want. And what I think we've had is people saying they got board approval in the past and that's where their animals came from. And that's kind of how this came about a bit. Just to create an infrastructure so it's not this, anyone can have any animals situation.
I think-
Maybe there's a way we could do that better, but I think that was the goal here, was to.
Well, in my term as trustee, the first 4 years, we probably saw, and Audrey, you were a part of a couple of those visits, that people wanted to apply, and we went out, took a look, and we basically came back and said, no chickens. I'm pretty confident that that didn't stop the people that brought them to the, I know I went to look at one point through a fence in a commercial yard, and there was a sign there that said that this area is being videotaped, so obviously I didn't stand there and try and figure it out, but
I hear everything.
I hear what you're saying,
You made
Sam.
some really good points, Darren. I just, I want to drive home. This is as much a means for the village to say no as it is to say yes.
I appreciate all the work everyone did on it, okay? Thanks.
If I think it's just a set of guidelines, is what I would like to say. Because I know in the past that we didn't have the guidelines where it says you can only have 6 chickens. And some of them ended up with 25 chickens. So I think this is a little bit, not saying I'm for or against, but there's guidelines and something that they have to adhere to help our departments.
anybody else? Andrew or Jackie?
No.
Okay. Public? Nothing, Gina? Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion to close.
All right. Honorable Mayor and Board of Trustees, I make a motion to close the public hearing at 7:40.
Second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried. Item number 3 is permission for the authorize the administrator to advertise for a public hearing for a tentative budget for 2022-2023.
Honorable Mayor and Board of Trustees, I make the following motion and move for its adoption. Be it resolved, the village administrator is hereby authorized to advertise for the public hearing for the tentative 2022-2023 budget to take place on Monday, April 11th, 2022 at 7 p.m. in the council chambers.
I second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion is carried. Number 4, permission to amend the 2021-2022 budget.
Honorable Mayor and Board of Trustees, I make the following motion and move for its adoption. Be it resolved, the administrator is hereby authorized to amend the 2021-2022 budget to reflect American Rescue Plan funds, ARPA, deposits in the amounts of $766,662.46 and $3,130.11 in the general fund.
I second the motion.
And a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Adolph?
Yes.
Trustee Ziemba?
Yes.
Trustee Kasavich?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hammerneck?
Yes.
And Mayor Peterson.
Yes.
That's carried.
Permission to authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with UNS Services.
Honorable Mayor and Board of Trustees, I make the following resolution and move for its adoption. Be it resolved that Mayor Kevin Peterson is authorized to sign an agreement with UNS Services, Inc., 95 Stark Street, Tonawanda, New York, 14150, beginning May 1st, 2022, for a service agreement to cover the equipment and service calls for the CPU units, peripheral equipment, field panels, and software associated with the village heating and air conditioning systems at a cost of $6,400 per year.
I second the motion.
Need a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Adolph?
Yes.
Trustee Ziemba?
Yes.
Trustee Kasavich?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hammerneck?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
That's carried.
Item number 6, authorize and award the bid for the senior center HVAC.
Honorable Mayor and Board of Trustees, I make the following motion and move for its adoption. be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the village engineer, the bid for the senior center HVAC system from the bid opening March 22nd, 2022, and the bid amount of $83,984 be awarded to John W. Danforth Company, 300 Colvin Woods Parkway, Tonawanda, New York, 14150.
I second the motion.
Need a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Adolph?
Yes.
Trustee Ziamba?
Yes.
Trustee Gisevich?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hammernick?
Yes.
And Mayor Peterson.
Yes.
That's carried.
Resolution number 7, permission to approve a leave of absence request.
Honorable Mayor and Board of Trustees, I make the following motion and move for its adoption. Whereas Donald Bielfeld, full-time code enforcement officer, is a newly hired employee and was not yet eligible for any paid time off under the CBA. He is requesting permission to take an unpaid leave of absence from April 11th, 2022 until April 15th, 2022, as his vacation was already planned prior to being hired. Whereas Teresa Wakowiak recommends the approval of this request, now therefore be it resolved, the village board approves the period of unpaid leave stated above.
I second the motion.
Roll call vote, please?
Trustee Adolph?
Yes.
Trustee Ziamba?
Yes.
Trustee Gisevich?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hammernick?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
That's carried.
Resolution number 8, permission to approve leave of absence request.
Honorable Mayor and Board of Trustees, I make the following motion and move for its adoption. Whereas Craig Blanchard, full-time Assistant Code Enforcement Officer, is a newly hired employee and was not yet eligible for any paid time off under the CBA. He is requesting permission to take an unpaid leave of absence from April 18th until April 25th, 2022, as his vacation was already planned prior to being hired. Whereas Teresa Wakowiak recommends the approval of this request. Now therefore be it resolved, the village board approves the period of the unpaid leave stated above.
I second the motion.
Roll call vote, please?
Trustee Adolph?
Yes.
Trustee Ziamba?
Yes.
Trustee Gisevich?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hammernick?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
That's carried.
Resolution number 9, authorize a calling for the increase in the AIM funding from New York State.
Honorable Mayor and Board of Trustees, I make the following motion and move for its adoption. Whereas AIM funding plays a pivotal role in funding essential municipal services such as water, sewer, public works, police, fire, and ambulance for cities and villages across New York State. And whereas the state not increased AIM funding in 13 years. And whereas inflation has eroded AIM's funding by roughly 29% over the time period. And whereas the New York State Conference of Mayors and nearly 400 of its members have signed on to a letter to the governor requesting an inflation increase of $210 million in AIM's funding. And whereas the governor's executive budget proposed keeping AIM's funding flat. And whereas the New York State Senate and Assembly have included increases of $210 million and $150 million, respectively, to AIM funding in their one House budget. And whereas an increase in AIM funding would reduce the local tax burden and help revitalize communities across New York. Now, therefore be it resolved that Mayor Kevin Peterson urges Governor Hochul to work with the leaders of the Senate and Assembly and increase AIM funding in the 2022-2023 adopted state budget.
I second the motion.
A roll call vote, please?
Trustee Adolph?
Yes.
Trustee Ziamba?
Yes.
Trustee Gisevich?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hammernick?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
That's carried.
Resolution number 10, adopt local law number 2 of 2022, tax cap override.
Honorable Mayor and Board of Trustees, I make the following motion and move for its adoption. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Depew, New York, held a public hearing on March 28, 2022 at 7 p.m. in the council chambers of the Municipal Building, 85 Manitou Street, Depew, New York, to consider the adoption of a local law authorizing a property tax levy in excess of the limit established in General Municipal Law, Section 3C.
I second the motion.
Need a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Adolph?
Yes.
Trustee Ziemba?
Yes.
Trustee Gisavich?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hammer?
Yes.
And Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
That's carried.
Resolution number 10, permission for a police conference.
Honorable Mayor and Board of Trustees, I make the following motion and move for its adoption. Whereas permission is hereby granted to Police Chief Jerome Miller and Police Captain William Kerr to attend the International Association of Chief of Police 2022 Annual Conference, October 15th through the 18th, 2022, in Dallas, Texas.
I second that motion.
Need a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Adolph?
Yes.
Trustee Ziemba?
Yes.
Trustee Gisavich?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hammer?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
That's carried.
Resolution number 12, permission for membership in the Depew Fire Department.
Honorable Mayor and Board of Trustees, I make the following motion and move for its adoption. Be it resolved, membership is hereby granted to the following in the Depew Fire Department pending the passing of his physical. Depew Hose Company Number 1, Thomas McLean.
I second the motion.
Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Adolph?
Yes.
Trustee Ziemba?
Yes.
Trustee Gisavich?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hammer?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
That's carried.
There's no department head reports tonight. We've received employment applications for our rec department from Michael Steffens, Megan Clemens, and Akira Kwiatkowski. There's no unfinished and other business. Before we get to the floor for open concerns and comments on anything that might be on somebody's mind, we're going to go through our members here at the board. Tonight, we don't have a representative from Tim Kennedy's office or Monica Wallace. They're both had other commitments tonight. So we're going to start with code. To my right, John and Craig.
All right, so just want to let you know that we are just about caught up with the loose paperwork that was left over from the previous, inspector, and now we're moved on to taking care of, permits and stuff that are behind in the system to get them all caught up. Craig here has finished his, was it E? D training, so he's just got E and F left, and then he'll be completely certified. Other than that, so we're just going to keep plugging away. We're also working on the state requirements for the reporting.
Yep.
All right, so we've got a lot on our plate, but we're working for it. It's working out well. Oh, and there's
put
been
it
a lot
on
of
public
talk about
record
this
that-
the old hidden shamrock. It's basically 5521 Transit Road, and we've had someone come forward. They purchased the property, and they are proposing 5-unit building, apartments. Very nice plans, if anyone wants to come take a look. Right now, we're just trying to get the parking situation, for every apartment, you require 2 parking spaces. So they're trying to establish that they possibly own part of that vacant lot next door for the additional parking they would need to put this in. Once that's taken care of, we're gonna approve this and get them started on renovating that building. It's been a long time coming, and it'd be nice to see that completed.
Good.
Any questions?
We'll go around and we'll come back to you.
Beautiful.
Chief Miller, down here on my right.
Thank you. Our department and our officers are doing a great job. They're engaged in the community, and they're working hard to keep the community safe. Currently, we're participating in the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration Distracted Driving and Educational Campaign. It's called You Drive, You Text, You Pay. That's April 4th through the 11th. We'll have extra patrols out on the road to hopefully locate and advise operators that are driving dangerously in the community. The program was developed to discourage dangerous and often deadly motorists. Distracted driving is one of the largest causes of motor vehicle accidents. So we encourage everyone to put down their phones and drive safe. As a reminder, please remember to lock your cars, take your keys, remove your valuables. We're still having cars broken into late at night. All you have to do is lock your cars and that problem will go away. They're also stealing the vehicles if people leave their keys in it, so make sure you take your keys with you. With the weather getting nicer, keep an eye on motorcycles, bicycles, and pedestrians. As I said, before you put your phones down, slow down and drive safe. So thank you. That's all I got.
Coming across, our Attorney Alba.
Okay, not much going on tonight. We have a meeting about the solar panels going in the old reclamation landfill and the lease agreement we're talking about next week. So at the next meeting, I should have more of an update on that. There's another delay with purchasing a vacant lot over here, something with the estate that we're still waiting on. So we've come up with a new idea to perhaps lease the land to get some kind of credit back. We're going to float that, see if it works. And I was expecting a lot of people to come here and ask questions about the local law tonight. So I was glad and appreciate the residents who did come out, and Trustee Ziemba's comments as well. When we're drafting a local law, we want to do the best job we can, and we can't do that without input. You know, then I'm making the choice, and I'm not looking to raise chickens, so I don't know. So it's great to hear from everyone. Thank you for coming out. And that's it for me.
All right. Fire Chief Todd Rizutek.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So far for the month of March, the fire department's up to 26 calls. We currently now, after today, are at 117 members and currently 14 junior firefighters. Our training continues and will continue with our firefighters, and they are doing a great job. I want to thank each and every one of them for the hard work and dedication they put in for their training. It's one thing we can say with our training is our training is not going to let us down, and we train that way and accordingly. Myself and the Depew Fire Department would like to wish the family of 44-year member Lenny Full our best wishes. Unfortunately, Leonard passed away on March 16th. Again, he was a 44-year member of the fire department, and as I was reminded, also the prior village dog catcher. Our firefighters are going to be taking some tips training. It's training for Founders Day. As asked by the mayor, our firefighters are going to be serving in the beer tent to assist the village and volunteer their time. And I want to make sure that they're trained properly and up to New York State standards like any other bartender would. So our department is offering our tips training in conjunction with our training bureau. And the firefighters that will be serving and volunteering that day will be going through that training. And lastly, I was hoping not to bring this up, but I'm going to have to. I had to bring this up one time previously. Ever since the parking ban was lifted, I have noticed an abundance of cars parking in front of fire hydrants. Now, I know it's nice to throw your car on the street now and get it out of the driveway, open your driveway up for your kids to play or whatnot. But please keep them away from the fire hydrants. Those are there for not only your safety, but the safety of those around you. And I see it can be a common mistake. You forget it's there, but it's sort of not. You know, you got to make sure the life safety and your safety is protected, especially if there's an incident, because one way or the other, we'll get through your vehicle. You know, there might not be the liking of the outcome, but let's just avoid that to begin with, and let's stay away from the fire hydrants. Besides that, I have 33 more days left in my term before Mr. Assistant Chief Gothier takes over. That's it. Thank you, sir.
After you leave, and by the time John will be in, you have your new vehicle.
Oh, yeah. Oh, jeez. I forgot about that. I didn't even write it down. So, when I got in 365 days ago, times 2 minus 33 days, we looked into purchasing a new command vehicle for our outdated and much used Tahoe that we have sitting out in the parking lot. It was about time, and more importantly, it was about our department moving forward with the cancer prevention program that we have in place. Notably, the gear that we wear and the chemicals that it takes in and during fires continues to off-gas even after we wash it. And those off-gases include carcinogens that are highly known to give firefighters increased risk of cancer. Unfortunately, one of the things with the chief's vehicle is we have that gear right in our vehicle. So not only is the chief exposed, or his wife or husband, if there so be, but their children as well if they're in the vehicle. Unfortunately, there has been a negative outcome downstate because of this, and it was directly linked to the fire chief at that time having his gear in the car, and his 2 twin daughters passed at 3 years old with a rare throat cancer that was linked to only firefighters. So we're moving forward with getting a pickup truck, like most departments are around here. I'm sure many of you have seen pickup trucks that are now saying fire department on it as fire chief, which is going to allow us to keep that gear and keep our tools that are continuously off-gassing this carcinogens away from the driver and any passengers that may subsequently move in the vehicle. This was started 2 years ago. Then COVID hit, and everyone is pretty well aware of the car shortage and car pricing that's going on right now. I passed by a local dealership recently, saw one on the lot that was used. I inquired to the village mayor and the Terry, the village administrator, and we were able to go forth and get this vehicle. Thanks to the DPW and Superintendent Pick for allowing us to store it there momentarily until we are allowed to upfit this. But we finally, one of my biggest goals of moving us forward with our cancer prevention program is finally able to be complete with 33 days left in my term. So that's it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Rec Department, Kevin Ferguson.
We have Saturday's our last day of ice, and then the rink will be closing. So I guess Monday I can't throw the guys out on mowers and have them start cutting grass yet. So we got some projects on the inside, making locker rooms, so they'll be in there doing that. Also, too, we are working with the board on pricing for the pool for passes. So we'll hopefully get everything finalized by next week. Gonna get the pool drained and scrubbed, get that all up. Working on lifeguards as well. And also, too, we're gonna have non-residents come back to the pool this year. And I'm working on swim lessons too. I think I gotta get a total of 15 lifeguards, so then I can have swim lessons as well. And that's about it.
Okay. DPW Superintendent Ken Pick.
Thank you. We put up the new 30-mile-an-hour signs at the police department, and the board had requested up in Aurora and Main Street. We started grinding stumps for the people that had their trees cut down. We will be back around the topsoil and seed. Don't need a call for that. We started work, and we are making progress on the all-inclusive Dawson playground. Bad weather permitting, it's slowing us down.
Snow. 70 on Thursday, though.
Yeah, or rain.
Oh,
So, that's it.
all right. And OEM Director, R.J. Neiman.
Not much to report. Both radios are installed both in Deputy Bird and my vehicle, the mobiles and the portables. The hazard mitigation plan is almost done. County's just waiting for some municipalities to hand in their adopted, like we did a few months ago, the adopted plan. Once everyone gets theirs in, then FEMA will approve everything, and then we will post it right to our Facebook page and to the website page and everything else. We started working on the action plans for the concert series and the Founders Day. Obviously, they're both they're very large events, and just working with Terry with getting some reimbursement with FEMA. That's all we got.
We talked about some of the COVID kits and such. We'll start to make them available for people to walk by through Village Hall to get them while we're open. Yeah, probably later this week. Okay. Board members, Trustee Zimba,
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Hemmerneck.
Nothing?
Didn't want to forget you. I made a mistake last time. Trustee Adolph.
I just wanted to put on people's radar that as Depew is a Tree USA city, that we are starting preparations for planning of Arbor Day towards the end of April. And I want to throw the call out there to any environmentally conscious individuals that wish to become a part of the tree committee. You can reach me at my village email, which can be found on the website. We want to make it a great celebration to look forward to, and preparations have begun, so thanks.
April 30th, 11 o'clock.
That's what's expected, yes.
Trustee Kasevich.
Nothing on my end tonight.
Okay. our public that's here tonight, either Scott or Paul. Any questions for anybody tonight? Pretty thorough?
All right.
Okay. Regina? Nothing? Okay. Claims and accounts.
Honorable Mayor and Board of Trustees, the claims and accounts have been audited by the Finance Committee and are approved for payments as follows.
In the general fund, $270,710.19. And in the sewer fund, $859, and that's it.
Second motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Before we do the adjournment, I know that trustee Hammernick's going to mention it, but just a little over 10 days ago, former Mayor Barbara Alberti passed away. She was, and her picture's back up on the wall because I know her family came and asked to borrow it for the wake and the funeral. Miss Alberti was mayor from 2007 to 2011, and as I mentioned, that's the one and only female mayor that the village has had. She worked 23 years here prior to that in the rec department and in the clerk's office. I know that the family reached out to Chief Miller and myself, and we met our presence and we lowered the flag. You also provide the escort, I believe, to the church and what have you.
That's correct.
And I know that her eldest son, Chris, was very appreciative for the efforts that the village put forth. I know that Audrey has this in her adjournment tonight.
Honorable Mayor and Board of Trustees, I make the following motion to adjourn the meeting tonight. But before we do that, we'd like to make a moment of silence for the past Mayor Barb Alberti and also for Lenny Full, our firefighter from Cayuga Hose of 44 years and also was the assistant. The dog catcher was the past dog catcher of the Village of Depew.
I second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And the meeting is adjourned.